Your time and expertise are valuable, making focus one of the most important resources to have at work. These days, professionals spend nearly half the work week on written communication, and it can be difficult to stay on task with all the emails and documents you have to get through. With Grammarly as your AI writing partner, you can stay focused and quickly get through your work with relevant real-time suggestions wherever you write. It works across 500,000 apps and websites, so it can help with everything, from brainstorming presentation ideas to sounding more confident and persuasive in emails and reports. For 15 years, Grammarly has offered best-in-class communication support and enterprise-grade security on a business model that doesn't sell your data. 93% of professionals report that Grammarly helps them get more work done. Download Grammarly for free at grammarly.com/podcast. That's GRAMMARLY.com/podcast. Professionals spend nearly half the work week on written communication, so focus is important. With Grammarly as your AI writing partner, focus and quickly get through work with relevant real-time suggestions. And it works across 500,000 apps and websites, so you can sound more confident and persuasive wherever you write. 93% of professionals report that Grammarly helps them get more work done. Download Grammarly for free at grammarly.com/podcast. That's grammarly.com/podcast.
You're listening to the Health Courage Collective podcast, episode 23, Heart Rate Variability. Welcome to the Health Courage Collective podcast, the show for women who are too busy to slog through hours of generalized, inapplicable, and often contradictory health information, but too smart to ignore that a few minutes of focused attention now can prevent years of suffering in the future. I'm your host, Christina Hackett, a pharmacist who doesn't want you to live on prescriptions, a certified coach specifically trained to maximize your potential, and a compulsive learner obsessed with preventative, cutting-edge, holistic, and integrative medicine. I'm on a mission to increase your physical and mental resilience so you can fearlessly look forward to your next 40-plus limitless years. Your time is now. Let's go. Hello, welcome back to another episode. So glad you're here. How is your December going so far? I hope you're able to architect your days so that you can feel some relaxation and joy rather than just busyness. How's your brain digestion going? Did you think of any nourishing inputs you can add or junk inputs you can subtract? That's like you. Today we're going to talk about heart rate variability, commonly called HRV. Many of you might already know all about it, so if you do, give yourself a pat on the back or find a mirror and give yourself a high five, Mel Robbins style. If HRV is new to you, let's get you up to speed on this important metric because it is fantastic. Some people say it might be the most important measure of health, fitness, and ability to perform well. Most of Western society and traditional medicine think of the body as a machine that can be separated into parts. Your brain does your thinking, your liver is a filter, your heart is a pump, your stomach is the fuel tank, etc. Traditional medicine even separates everything out into specialties. You see a neurologist, a gastroenterologist, a cardiologist, a nephrologist, and so on. While these people are incredibly smart, this specialization actually causes a lot of problems in not seeing the forest for the trees. We'll save that discussion for another time. Suffice it to say that there is a lot of complex interplay between all of the different body systems, most of which we don't even understand yet. No system of the body is independent from the others. The heart was once thought of as just a pump that beats like a metronome with a regular, steady rhythm. We now know that actually heartbeats are surprisingly irregular, with the time interval between consecutive heartbeats constantly changing. This beat-to-beat variation in heart rate is called heart rate variability. Most of us have been taught that the heart responds to orders from the brain via neural signals, which is true. But it's not as commonly known that the heart actually sends more signals to the brain than the other way around. Pretty cool, right? I love that for many thousands of years, the heart has been used as a symbol of courage. The word courage comes from the Latin word for heart. Of course, the heart is also used as a symbol of our supreme emotion, love. The signals that the heart sends to the brain influence our emotional processing for our ability to express emotions, including courage and love. It also affects our attention, perception, memory, and problem-solving abilities. Not just a pump, my friends. Heart rate variability is the measure of the naturally occurring beat-to-beat changes in heart rate and heart rhythm. So your HRV is a number that represents how much change there is between heartbeats, and more change, or a higher number, is better. It's a critical method for evaluating human health and resiliency. HRV is an objective and non-invasive way to explore the interactions between physiological, mental, emotional, and behavioral processes. What affects the HRV number has to do with your mental, emotional, and behavioral processes, and the HRV, in turn, creates an effect on those processes too. So it goes both ways. During negative and stressful emotions, when HRV is low, the neural signals traveling from the heart to the brain inhibit our ability to think clearly, remember, learn, reason, and make good decisions. When HRV is high, the signals from the heart to the brain promote positive feelings and emotional stability and allow us to perceive, think, feel, and perform at a higher level. And we can train our hearts to send those signals to our brains. Cool, right? Heart rate variability is often used as a measure of physiological resilience, behavior flexibility, and the ability to adapt to stress effectively. When you have high or good HRV, they call it a state of coherence. It's actually a little more nuanced than just high and low variability. It's about the pattern the variability between beats creates. Anyhow, this is coherence. Heart rate variability coherence is different than just relaxing. You can relax and decrease your heart rate, but relaxation is more of an increase in the parasympathetic nervous system activity. Remember, parasympathetic is the rest and digest signal. HRV coherence is also associated with increased parasympathetic activity, but it's also a state of oscillating harmony of the nervous system and the heart-brain dynamics. HRV coherence doesn't have to involve a slowing down of the heart rate. It can and often does, but doesn't have to. It's not even reflective of just the change in the actual amount of variability between beats, but rather is a change to the pattern in the variability between the beats. It's a flowing synchronicity. Relaxation typically involves disengaging from cognitive and emotional processes. You know what this relaxation is like, right? You kind of check out from the world. Heart rate variability coherence, on the other hand, involves active engagement with positive emotions, not a quieting of the mind or the emotions. I have my little gadgets that I like to play with. They're my adult toys. Wait, that sounds bad. Not those kind of adult toys, just, you know what I mean. One of them is a Muse headband used while meditating, and one of them is a HeartMath brand heart rate variability device called Inner Balance. I've had them both for years, and I know how to get them to tell me that I'm, quote, doing it right. And what I do to get that confirmation is very different. For meditating with my headband, it's about wiping my mind of any thoughts at all. Completely blank mind. For HeartMath, or heart rate variability, it's about breathing rhythmically and actively thinking about things that make me happy. HRV coherence is a calm yet energized state that helps you have better focus, problem solving, decision making, and physical performance and coordination. I've never thought about trying to measure and keep my HRV coherence up while exercising, but it could be a fun experiment to run to see if I can feel a difference in my ability to work or balance. Your mind can be very engaged and active while in high HRV coherence. HRV coherence can be trained, and it helps people improve conditions like stress, depression, anxiety, anger issues, and more. There have been studies showing dramatic improvements in symptoms of middle schoolers with ADHD and Iraq War veterans with PTSD. It can also help people function at a higher level, which is always cool. Imagine if you had greater control over your physiological response to stress. Then the signals your body sends to your brain would help you act more appropriately rather than freak out. It can help you be a better mom. It can even help you act more courageously in your life, which is pretty awesome. I first heard about heart math and HRV from Dave Asprey, and he says that the strongest indicator that your fear brain is getting in the way of your logical brain is your heart rate variability, or HRV. It turns out that when your brainstem is preparing your body to run away or fight, even without your conscious permission, the first thing it does is to change the rhythm of your heart so that your heartbeat is very steady. When you're unstressed, the space between each heartbeat naturally varies. HRV training teaches you to control your stress response by using technology to tell you when your heart rate is or is not highly variable, and teaching you to use your consciousness to control your animalistic fear response. There are two main ways this works. The first is by teaching you to recognize when your reptilian-derived brainstem is firing your sympathetic nervous system, priming your body to fight. You can feel the fear in your body rather than pretending it doesn't or shouldn't exist. Secondly, it teaches you to consciously turn off your sympathetic nervous system response to stress, the one that you call fear. That's amazing. First, HRV teaches you how to know your reptilian brain is making you experience fear. Then it teaches you how to make it stop. Then you can act with real courage, acknowledging and owning your fear, rather than acting with a veneer of courage smeared on top of repressed fear. That's a good way to put it, right? Good HRV is an indicator of overall resilience and well-being. This is what we all want, right? It's definitely what I want for you and why I do this podcast. Studies with correctional officers and police officers have shown that HRV coherence training with heart math improved their blood pressure, total cholesterol, fasting glucose, fatigue, and overall stress. A good HRV is also an indicator of health and fitness, and it's a marker of biological aging. Our heart rate variability is greatest when we're young and decreases with age. Having abnormally low HRV for one's age group is associated with increased health problems from a variety of causes and increased mortality. When our mind and body are in harmony, this psychophysiological coherence is the state of optimal function. Both our brain and our body work together and we feel better and perform better. That's why HRV matters. You've heard the old saying that your vibe attracts your tribe, right? What do you think about that? I think it's true. I read this super fascinating article, I'll put a link in the show notes, about HRV and group dynamics. They talk about how HRV waveforms can even show exact emotional states, like gratitude looks different than empathy, even though they're both positive emotions, and fear looks different than disapproval, even though they're both negative emotions. I've only ever seen it as high coherence versus low coherence, so that's pretty cool to me. Anyway, there's a ton of interesting stuff in here, but it talks about how a biomagnetic communication system may exist which connects and distributes information among members of groups. In the human body, the heart generates the largest rhythmic magnetic field, about 100 times the amplitude produced by the brain. This field, which is measured in nanoteslas, can be measured several feet outside of the body with magnetometers. The information reflecting one's emotional state is encoded in both the HRV waveform and the heart's electromagnetic field that is radiated out into the environment. So interesting, right? So you literally put out vibes about your emotional state and pick up on the vibes of others around you. But you have to be within a few feet of their body, which has been kind of a no-no lately. There's a lot more they discuss in the article about group coherence and purposeful team building, showing that training coherence as a group increases bonding, care, kindness, cooperation, creativity, decision-making, appreciation of differences, improved communication, fewer mistakes, shorter meeting times, increased performance, increased well-being, and an increased sense of collective purpose. They even say that when it comes to public health, social coherence and connection is one of the biggest public health problems in the world today. So, how can you know what your heart rate variability is? HeartMath makes two devices, the M-Wave and the Inner Balance. I have an Inner Balance. You clip it to your earlobe and it gives you feedback in real time about your HRV coherence, which is pretty cool. It never gives you a number. It just tells you whether you're in coherence or you're not. There are different levels, so you can level up as you get better at it. I'm only up to level 2 so far. My Oura Ring, which I love, gives a number, so that's different. There are devices like the Whoop strap, and I think Apple Watches might do it too, and I'm sure there are others that I don't know about, that will also give you an HRV number. It doesn't help you train yourself to get into coherence the way HeartMath does, but it gives you an idea of where you are in terms of your emotional and physiological states. The number can be anywhere from 20 to 200. The most important thing to note is your number now compared to your average number, not comparing yourself to other people. But I know if you're like me, you still want to know what's a good number or a bad number. It really is personal, but the average for most 25-year-olds would be 50 to 100. For 35-year-olds, it's 40 to 80. For 45-year-olds, it's 35 to 60. And for 55-year-olds, it's 30 to 50. This isn't to say that you're doomed if you're lower than that, or that you can't exceed that, because you certainly can. You can also train to improve, which is super great because that means you're teaching your body and brain to be more resilient. Things that cause you to have a lower HRV are any kind of system depletion, like stress, any negative emotions, illness, dehydration, alcohol, inconsistent sleep, like jet lag, overtraining, and if you're measuring it during sleep, like with an Oura Ring, eating too close to bedtime, working out too close to bedtime, or trying to sleep in a room that's too warm. Things that increase your HRV are all the health promoting and restorative things like just overall good health, positive emotions, rhythmic breathing, relaxation, mindfulness practices like yoga and meditation, rest, rejuvenation, and at night, sleeping in a cool room. I didn't know before researching for this episode that hydration status played a role in HRV, so that's interesting. And watching and tracking my data, which, as you know, is my idea of fun, has shown me what a big negative difference eating within a few hours of bedtime makes. And I found that if I stretch and do a little deep tissue massage before bed, my HRV is usually better. One of the best ways to boost your heart rate variability in the moment is to breathe well. You can do this with or without anything measuring your HRV. If you do a little check-in with your body and find you're feeling a little bit stressed or unsettled, you can flip the switch and get into harmony simply by breathing. We already know we always breathe in and out through our nose only. You breathe in through your nose, down into your belly. You want to feel the sides of the bottom of your ribs flaring out, not your chest rising and falling. This is engaging your diaphragm. Then you breathe out through your nose. You want your exhale to be slightly longer than your inhale. That's one of the key factors in what makes your breath feel calming. Exhale slightly longer than the inhale. You can find the perfect breath tempo for you by doing a little experimenting. If you're over 6 feet tall, you might want your breaths to be slightly longer. If you're under 5'6", you might want your breaths to be slightly shorter. For me, I'm 5'8". I've done a little experimenting and I feel like the ideal for me is a 5-second inhale, a 1-second pause or hold, and a 7-second exhale. Do you want to try it and see if it feels good to you, or if you want to tweak it? Let's do 3 breaths together. Are you ready? In, 2, 3, 4, 5, hold. Out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Pause. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Breathe in, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hold. Breathe out, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Good job. How do you feel? I listen to my podcasts on 1.5 speed, so that might not have worked for you, but try it and see on your own if you like breathing into a count of 5, holding, and then breathing out to a count of 7. Once you find a pattern that you like, use it forever. This is a great way to boost your HRV and have your heart tell your brain that things are good. It's great for calming down, relaxing, falling asleep, gathering courage, boosting your willpower, and pretty much everything else that's good in the world. Thank you so much for being here today. I hope you found something useful about heart rate variability that you can use in your life. It can help you get into the state of high performance, and it can help you be more of who you want to be. I'll put a link in the show notes to the Heart Math Institute if you want to learn more about how to train your HRV coherence. I know a couple of Heart Math certified coaches, so let me know if you want to learn more about it. I could probably get one of them to come teach us more, if you want. Next week, we're going to talk about training tranquility. Until then, don't be normal. Thank you so much for tuning into the Health Courage Collective podcast. I am truly honored that you have paid me the enormous compliment of your time and attention. I would be so grateful if you would share this podcast with someone you know and subscribe so you never miss an episode. This podcast is for entertainment and information purposes only. Statements and views on this podcast are not medical advice. This podcast, including Christina Hackett and producers, disclaim responsibility for any possible adverse events by use of information contained herein. If you think you have a medical problem, consult a licensed physician.